Okay. So the first question was
Yes.
at the panel you said that Pikachu was your favorite Pokemon.
Yes.
But if you were to say anyone other than Pikachu, who would it be?
Well, I've decided. I used to say Lapras because I like the idea of floating around New York City.
Yeah.
But you can only float around New York City. Not so. I've changed and I've gone with Charizard because
yeah.
you can actually fly places. So I could save a lot on airplanes and all of that and traffic jams and just fly around. So
Charizard's everyone's favorite, I think.
Yeah, except that it's very difficult to live with.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, temper tantrums, a lot of fire. I live in Los Angeles now. The fire thing's not so good.
Oh no, he could burn the whole city.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful.
Yeah.
Choosy.
Make sure that you don't get him angry.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which, as we all know, doesn't matter what you do.
No. I always prefer Squirtle.
You could put the fire out.
Yeah.
Squirtle is good actually. Cute, fun.
He was just my first Pokemon.
I see.
Did you play any of the games, or did your daughter play any of the games?
My little brother played Pokemon Red, and then we got Pokemon Red at my house, and I wasn't really allowed to play ever on them, but I did a little bit. Yeah. So, but we have a DS in my house, and we that's all we have. So I don't play a lot of video games anyway. All the video games I've ever worked on, I've never seen.
Oh, that must be weird.
It is weird.
Do you ever see, like, say you're on the computer, do you ever see, like, a clip of yourself that you've never seen before? Like, you know the lines, but you've never seen the actual...
Yes. Yeah.
Views.
There's something recently someone asked me about a project, and I said, I really don't think I worked on that. And I did. So, but if I hear the voice, I know I did. But, you realize that... when I go to work, sometimes I can work on a project for 1 hour, and it stretches into something bigger, but I only thought about it for an hour. And so it doesn't stick with me so much.
I've seen it go that way. Like, I was talking to Nolan, and he seems to forget half the projects he's into.
Of course you do.
You do so many.
Yeah, and also sometimes I work, like when I was working on Pokemon as an example, I could do that for, let's say, 3 hours, and then I would go work on another show for an hour, and then another show for another hour, and then I'd go run up the street and do another project. And so there's not a lot of time for it to really settle in.
So it's just kind of constant day of work.
Yes, it has to be, because you work by the hour.
So you kind of forget what you're doing at some points.
Yeah, you can't afford to just keep thinking back. You can only think forward.
But there must be like some very distinct characters that you always, like, whenever you're doing them, you always remember.
Well, sure, and if I hear the voice back, I remember exactly who the character is, because I think about the placement and who the character is, how they move, all of that stuff. So if I hear a reference, I know who it is. And I can do any of the voices with a reference, but I wouldn't... some characters I haven't heard for 20 years.
Yeah. No, there can be like so many voices when you go through it.
Yeah, but if I get a chance to play one like Ash, I played for 8 years.
It's hard to forget.
Yeah, it's really part of me.
I guess it's also because like Pokemon's so big, you get asked to do Ash a lot as well.
Yeah,
so
well,
even
that's
afterwards,
true too. Yeah.
you're still doing Ash.
That's right.
If there was has there ever been a project that you really wanted to get involved in, but you just didn't get in? Like, say,
every day I audition for things that I don't get cast in. So every day there's something I wish I were in.
Is there ever a character that you really wanted?
Every single character I audition for.
Is there not one character that you just really wanted?
No, I don't think about it like that. Because again, I have, sometimes I easily have at least an audition a day.
Yeah.
And you concentrate on it, you figure it out, you send in your takes, and then you let it go. Because if you held on to all the things that didn't work out, you'd be carrying this huge weight of disappointment around.
So if you get an email back, then if you don't...
That's exactly right. You just have to let it all go. Because we all have to think forward. When you constantly think back about things that didn't work out or the disappointments, it's just, there's no forward motion. There's no, the energy just doesn't
That's very
work.
true.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there's obviously a lot of characters that out there, and like there's a lot of voices to do. Does it ever end up that you do what's the most amount of characters you've done for like one
in
show?
In a Warriors Cats book I narrated, 120 cats.
120?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Oh.
Yeah. But otherwise, I think an audiobook is like, it can go from anywhere from maybe, let's say, 10, if it's mostly narrated, maybe narrated by one person and little characters come in, or I'd say between 10 and 40 is kind of a normal audiobook.
It's hard to get a lot of voice. Do you like forget sometimes with the voices?
No, I make notes. I have I notate it all out and I mark it in the script, because when you do an audiobook, you're just sitting there reading as if I'm just sitting right now reading to you.
Yeah.
So I note it all out so that I can, kind of flip back and forth and do that.
Because I noticed, like, when I listen to some audiobooks, like, I know Stephen Fry, for instance, sometimes forgets his characters, and it's like in Harry Potter and stuff, he forgets some of his characters and does a different voice. So I mean, it's impressive that you can keep all the characters.
Yeah, well, it also helps when you're working, if you get the chance to work with a director, which doesn't happen as much anymore, but you usually have an engineer, which also is happening less and less, that you can at least, you have another set of ears to say, I think that was a little bit off. Because otherwise, you're really, as the actor, you're the actor, you're the director. A lot of times now you have to engineer yourself. Yeah. You're also figuring out how to, you're editing and you're doing all that. So you don't have as much time to concentrate on just acting, on just telling the story.
Do you ever get caught up in, like, pronunciations of some words? Like, say if it's a fantasy book?
Yeah, definitely. Well, sometimes they provide the pronunciations and sometimes you have to look it up, and there's a lot of work that happens before you start recording.
Do you ever get contact with, like, say, an author of a book you're reading?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I've worked with Judy Blume, and I got to talk to her, and she was in the room when I recorded, which was an amazing thing. And some authors I can talk to ahead of time, but usually the publisher likes you to not talk to them. But I mean, if I were the author, I'd want to talk to the narrator.
I mean, you want to know what you want their characters to sound like.
Yeah, because when I narrate, I narrate the book as if the author were reading their own story. What were they thinking when they wrote this? And I try to get in their head and tell the story like they would.
When it's in text, it's sometimes hard to get the tone. So you kind of need the author sometimes.
Yeah, you do. And you want to tell the story the right way.
Yeah. So I think last question is, what do you think of Ireland? How many times have you been here?
I've been here a lot, actually. Yeah, I have relatives on the West Coast, so in Clare. So we come probably every 2 years. We try to come.
So do you go over to your family after, like, events like this and stuff?
Yeah, I actually just came from there.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
so you've been to visit and then come back?
Right. It's only a couple of days, but that's better than nothing.
Yeah, I guess it's handy. You get to see your family and then see fans.
It really worked out nicely. It was great, actually.
You kind of get to see both of your families.
That's exactly right. Because this really is such an extended family. I mean, even though we haven't met face to face, I know you. And you know me. You know what I mean? It's such a neat, it's really amazing.
Well, my sister, she grew up on the first season.
Yeah.
And she loves Pokemon. And she's 21 now.
Right.
And I mean, she still has all her Pokemon stuff and all that.
Yeah, she's not alone in that.
No.
Everybody does. I have a lot of Pokemon stuff. I mean, it's just kind of weird and wonderful.
It's whatever you grow up with, and I mean, Pokemon was a huge thing for everyone who grew up in the 90s and the early...
aughts.
Yeah, the aughts. I always mix it up.
Yeah.
And thanks for
you're welcome. This has really been lovely. I really appreciate it.
Get to your lunch.
Yeah,
so
I'll
many.
Eat lunch now. That'll be good so I don't faint right here or something.
Just in case we upload this to tonight.
Yeah.
You can still see Veronica tomorrow at Dublin. So you can
MCM Dublin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to give you a little shout out for your show? What is your show called?
It's just Game Feed. We're
Game
just
View.
Game Feed.
Game Feed. Hey, I'm Veronica Taylor, and from myself and Ash Ketchum, you're watching Game Feed. Check it out. Really, gotta catch 'em all.
Thanks.